In the last 8 months, 240,000 Americans have lost their life in this country. Do you have any idea what's the cause? At the end of last year, we began to hear of a new disease. Something that was at first overlooked and seemed very inoffensive. But today, we all have made some changes to our daily lives and wish for this nightmare to be over. Does this all sound familiar? I'm talking about the coronavirus. A virus that came to our lives as a surprise, but up to this day, there's not a vaccine or a stable solution since a lot of people decide to disregard the government indications and choose not to follow them. Use a mask, social distance yourself. Help us stop the spread. After I did research and reading many articles, I want to talk to you about COVID-19. As you may know, the coronavirus or COVID-19, it's an infectious disease caused by a newly discovered coronavirus, as described by the World Health Organization in an article titled Coronavirus in their official website. In here, I have a picture of how the coronavirus looks from a microscope, from the microscope eye. And as you can see there, you can see the scientific name, which is SARS-CoV-2. The coronavirus is very dangerous. This virus is a newly mutated version of the coronavirus that has been known for years. The actual very first case of coronavirus was during the 1960s, which used to be the alpha coronavirus or the beta coronavirus, which were the only two types of coronavirus that had infected the human race. But besides those two, there was the gamma coronavirus or the alpha coronavirus, which had only been seen in animals. So there is to mention this virus was an animal to human transition that developed into a human pathogen. This new coronavirus first appeared in China, and after research and many surveys, the CDC epidemiologists determined that the virus came from an animal sold on the market, as they stated in their official CDC website. This virus is called a pandemic because the disease has spread quickly across multiple countries, if not all, affecting millions and millions of people. As of right now, there's 52 million cases. And do you have any idea how many of them we have here in the US? Well, to be exact, right now we have 10.5 million of cases just here in the US, making us the country with the major number of cases worldwide, followed by India and Brazil. Out of all those cases, about 240 people have died in this country and lost their lives due to complications because of the virus. The virus affects the respiratory system, and for the most part, people can recover without any treatment. But older people and people with chronic disease are the most vulnerable and they're more likely to develop serious complications. You have probably heard your peers or your friends talking about not to worry about the coronavirus. And they misinform you when they tell you that the coronavirus has less than the 1% for the mortality rate, which is totally wrong. Compared to the influenza, which has pretty high numbers, the coronavirus has 3 to 4% higher mortality rate, as stated by the World Health Organizations and their official website. Because of that, I invite you to follow the government regulations and stop the spread of COVID-19. Simple things like washing your hands, social distance, and the use of face masks can help reduce the number of cases. One of the most important things that you can do is using a face mask, because the virus is spread through the respiratory system, through the respiratory droplets, which means it's spread when you talk, when you cough, when you sneeze, which are the the things that we do in our daily lives. At the same time, you should avoid public places with big crowds so you can minimize your chances to being exposed. Because yes, I understand, you may have perfect health, but somebody in your family or one of your friends may not, and you don't want to get them sick. It's important to follow these measures because at first, the coronavirus doesn't show any symptoms. It can take up to a week or two to develop any of them. The symptoms include cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, fatigue, headache, loss of the taste or smell, just to mention a few. If you happen to have any of the symptoms, the best thing to do is to stay home and get tested. Self quarantine for a couple of days until you get a negative result. It can take somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks to recover from the virus, and it's important for you to follow these measures because there's still not a vaccine developed for the virus. Scientists are still studying vaccines to cure the virus, but because there's a lot of unknown facts, it's hard to develop a vaccine that would work for everyone and wouldn't have secondary effects. Some of the companies working to develop the vaccine are Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. They're all working on phase number 3, which is the last phase in the vaccine development process. COVID 19 is an infectious disease that affects the respiratory system, very similar to influenza but has a higher mortality rate. And because this mutation was discovered recently, there's still a lot of questions left blank without an answer. That's why we should follow the government indications and use face coverings when we go to public places, as well as staying 6 feet apart from others so we can stop the spread of the coronavirus. Because we didn't take the preventative measures in time, many lives were lost due to the virus. A virus that is highly contagious and can be easily spread by saliva. I'm sure we all got tired of staying home for so many months. But in order for us to go back to our normal lives, we need to follow the regulations and do our part to stop the spread. Thank you.